Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel and another episode of Castlevania, episode 8. Last time on Castlevania, a lot of catching up. Well, some catching up with Isaac. He's found himself in another predicament where he needs to make a choice, whether to continue his story or be a part of another. Right? He has a choice. He ran into this village where he came across this old magician, mad magician, according to her, and she very slyly let him know that, okay, I know you're heading in that direction, but there are a few townspeople over there being held captive by this magician, and she sweetened the pot even more by telling him that there's a portal that the magician has in his possession that could teleport him to where he needs to go. Right? It seems very reminiscent of the one that Dracula had in his castle, but um, she says this is capable of moving more than multiple people. I don't know if Dracula was capable of doing that, but I think that is what Isaac was actually looking for when he visited the old man's shop at the start of this season. But the old man did say that two vampires took it from him. So how did this magician come in possession of it? I'm not sure if I trust everything that this mad lady is saying to Isaac. Clearly, she has something to gain from all this, and it could be that she's very well the magician, and perhaps she lost power somehow, and she's sending Isaac on this errand, and in trying to help, he may in fact just make her more powerful. um, but she does make some good arguments about him needing a much bigger army. I actually thought he would have gotten more people from that town that he the port that he arrived at, and he was attacked after Captain left. But I guess he just took the guards that were attacking, and he didn't really attack the villagers and turn them. Admirable, but he's going to need the army, especially now that that Hector is warming up to the vampires. He hasn't started forging yet, I don't believe. Because they did say that he needs bodies, and they don't want to diminish their food supply by using those humans. So they need to get humans from somewhere. But I'm expecting to see a badass magician versus magician battle this episode. So I cannot wait. Episode 8, guys. Let's check it. Why is her castle covered in blood?
Why are you still awake? It's the middle of the day.
I'm redrawing my plans.
Striga's the only one who seems to be thinking about the how and not just let's do this.
Soldiers, but that exposes our western border.
She's not just a brute. She's actually very strategic.
Turning the forge master, and
I did the calculations.
then calculate this. We need dead bodies, but we also need feeding.
We can't use the feeding stock to give Hector bodies,
To
so
bullet on into a night creature, but that leaves us with nothing to eat. With soldiers.
They don't have that many.
Yes.
So you hire mercenaries and then sacrifice them?
Local forces. What's the difference?
The difference is that mercenaries can be rehired by the
For more money.
side for more money.
do you have money?
But there's no honor in that.
No.
There is money, Striga.
So?
Will these men work for vampires, though?
We're
I
all
mean,
awake now.
surely these mercenaries will know that at the end of the day, they just become food.
Helped with my scheme. Wait.
Why would they willingly
You call it a
agree to
scheme?
work for vampires?
It is a scheme.
Rude.
They are mercenaries, so I would not be
But if you
surprised.
insist, we can have a drink.
These two.
He's holding things back from us, you know.
He's lonely. He wants us to stay. It's just him in a dead castle guarding the... I think that he thinks he deserves it.
The loneliness?
He killed his own father. He wants to be punished for it. Now home is more unprotected than ever.
Thinking of staying here?
We should do something for him. Give him a reward.
Can it be after I've
Still
had
haven't
enough?
figured out if they're actually siblings or lovers. I don't know. It's tough to tell.
No.
Alright. He's taking his time, considering that someone could just come down at any moment. Come on, we know you speak. Wake up, Saint Germain. Oh, damn it. Alright, so the corridor is the portal hasn't been opened yet, so I guess that's what they're trying to open. He's gonna get caught. He's gonna get caught. There's no way no one heard that.
No, not at all.
I don't know if he's
Just
gonna
trying
buy
to
an
keep
excuse
the
again.
outside the knees, you know, not what they used to be.
What have you learned?
Well, I believe many of the previous occupants of this place had a real interest in contacting hell itself. It's clear to me that there have... In fact, this entire structure could be contaminated. I worry for your health, Salah. I myself may have developed a nasty cough and a slight limp. You shouldn't be here. Not soon enough, Salah.
Why do you sound as though you think this frightens him?
You must flee, Salah.
That's what he wants.
You're absolutely right, Prior. Flee.
He's trying to get them out so he can come in, but I don't think that's gonna work.
He spoke to us. We heard his voice in our heads. Since that moment, everything has been...
He's very talkative. They're not even torturing him.
They've got a night creature under the
I ain't
priory.
telling you shit.
They didn't kill it. They hid it.
I think it's waiting. Salah and his men are enacting some kind of plan involving these alchemical symbols.
Cypher, translate this idiot's gibberish into actual language for me.
Thank you, Judge.
I don't have enough information yet. All you need to know is that the Priory is desecrated, and they are somehow working with a living night creature who has taught them magic.
To it.
Yeah, you might not have a choice. You're kind of past that now. Are you going to wait for them to open the portal to hell?
Cypher and
Just
others
attack.
will need to get under the
He's
priory.
already said their numbers have been dwindled because they're leaving to spread the message.
This is my town. You do as I say. We must have strategy, force of numbers. This will be done properly.
You're being stubborn, Judge.
I'll begin the preparations.
Why would you want him to open it?
Oh, wait. You're actually
You're trying to help him.
helping me.
All right. No need to make a production out of it.
Well, I'm so sorry. I'm simply not used to people being kind to me for no reason.
Maybe if you weren't such a gigantic dick all the time.
What to hear?
We have given
Okay.
you time to meditate.
So it was under his instructions.
God has abandoned the earth. We do
Who
this
forged him?
in
Isaac?
the name of our visitor and his forge master, Isaac.
So
When the
Isaac
sun goes
forged this
down,
demon. I don't know. I feel like we're on two different timelines or something because Isaac that we're following now doesn't seem to be aware of any of this. At least I don't think he is.
There to be more
Unless he's had some master plan all along.
Are you sure the castle can't be moved?
Why so
I'm
obsessed with the castle?
There's not something you're not telling us?
It's just that there are parts of the castle that you avoid showing us.
He doesn't know
Things
you.
don't talk about.
It's a big castle. We have plenty of time together, don't we?
No, they don't.
Yes, we do.
I don't trust them. I don't trust them. Now you're noticing her scent.
I didn't notice that ring before.
Really? We all wear them.
All?
The four of us. Carmilla, Morana, Striga and I.
Well,
Quite human.
nice. Seems it's a different facet. of
Vampires
you,
with
I suppose.
sentiment.
Like this book.
Sentimentality.
Oh,
Yes. It's a magical work, but it's also... How do you describe it?
so now we're not all monsters.
I would think you'd have known that since you were friends with Dracula
Go on,
before. He
admit it.
was not really a
There
monster.
seems to be...
Well, good. Then I have a philosophical question for you.
All right.
Diplomacy is compromise. I get something, you get something.
Time
Neither of us
to
get
give him
everything,
some freedom.
but we both leave happy. It just doesn't seem fair.
As if you don't have all the control in the world.
What do you want?
I want to be let out.
I know. That's
They
all I
could
can
offer
think
him
of.
some freedom if
It's the only
he.
thing I can do for you.
But you're not just gonna let me out.
Well,
What
no.
do they get in
I'm
return?
loyal.
I know they want him to forage for them, but they also need his night creatures to be loyal to them as well. So he's not a complete fool,
loyal
but
to my
somehow.
But what we're doing is wrong. We could just leave, Hector. If you want to be with me.
All a part of her plan. The idiots. Alright.
I was wondering, how does someone
Time to make
believe
their
in
assault on the
immortality?
Priory.
It's an appalling act of
Saint Germain going along willingly.
ancient knowledge and sacrificing something of your soul. It took me a year to
But clearly
recover
this
from
creature knows about it.
I think we've made a terrible mistake.
Otherwise, I mean, that's why they're trying to open the portal to hell. Invisible to the human eye, but not his.
Prior Sala. No more. You will vacate the Priory. Throw your weapons out as you exit. Priory, God is no longer in that house. Out! All of you now! Or we come for you, Sala.
What did they drag down there?
It is time.
Alright, then we have it, episode 8 of Castlevania. And yes, my original theory was correct. Isaac is responsible for opening or attempting to open a gateway, a portal to hell to resurrect Dracula. I'm still a bit confused as to. I mean, I theorized that he would be responsible for Dracula's resurrection somehow, but I'm not seeing his connection to the Priory. Around episode 2, when the Priory did appear, I did say that their devotion seems reminiscent of Isaac to some extent, but it's almost as if the creature acted on its own outside of Isaac's will, but it knows what Isaac wants and it's trying to accomplish that, right? Their unwavering devotion. Immediately when I saw the Prairie Monks, I thought, is this like a cult of Isaac or something to that effect? But the Isaac that we are following in this storyline now doesn't appear to be the same Isaac from last season. So looking back at his conversation with that night creature in the last episode at the end there, the philosopher that was killed for thinking, it's obvious that these night creatures can develop a will of their own, right? And it's one of two things. Either we're dealing with two different timelines, and there've been a few episodes in the season that have hinted at that, right? First it was with Alucard, suggesting that it's been months or years since he's been at the castle, the damaged castle, while Sci-Fi and Trevor said it's only been 30 days. And then there've been other suggestions throughout the season as well. And when they mentioned the magician here, the magician who dreams or something like that in the last episode, when Isaac came across that mad magician in town, I immediately thought of Saint Germain, right? Because in the last episode, well, we know he's a magician. In the last episode, he's constantly having these dreams, and there's reference constantly made about the dreams that he has, and so it gives me the impression that there's a possibility that there are two different timelines that we're following, and some characters are further ahead than others. So that is a possibility. Not completely sold on it, but that's a possibility that perhaps there are two different timelines, and where Hector and Cypher are now, or where this creature, night creature that's attempting to resurrect Dracula, could be in the past or the future. But I don't know. So it's a long shot. The other possibility is that that Isaac created this nice night creature at some point. He lost track of it, but somehow this creature still is still imbued with his will and what he hopes to accomplish more than anything, which in part is to get revenge on Carmilla and Hector, but the other part is to resurrect Dracula. And so this night creature has been trying to do its master's will all this time, without Hector even knowing, because it's been proven that the night creatures from the last episode that they can have a conscience of their own. So they are conscious, they are aware, and not all of them, but some. And this one in particular seems to have somehow manipulated these monks and having them do his bidding, which is to open the infinite corridor directly to hell and release Dracula. So this could all be happening without Isaac's knowing, or who knows? There is still a possibility that this has been a part of Isaac's plan from the very beginning, and he's been planning it. And he's been leaving his night creatures at different locations to get this, to actually get this done. So many questions. But nonetheless, I mean, the next episode, I guess, is where everything will come to a head, and we'll get a lot more answers. They're gonna storm in on the Priory, and I imagine the gateway to hell will be open, and potentially Dracula will be freed in the next episode or the finale. Again, I'm still waiting to see how the other storylines come together. We didn't see Isaac this episode in particular, and we didn't see his assault on the town and his battle with the other magician. Maybe we'll get that next episode as well. We did meet up with Hector and Lenore, and of course we know that she's still very much manipulating him and giving him she's painting this picture as though he has the will or the power to do certain things. So she deprived him of any free will whatsoever, and then slowly gives it back to him, and it gives him the impression that he's making the choices when he really has no choice. And so from his perspective, she's giving him the ability she's giving him the freedom to sleep in a comfortable environment, to the freedom to walk freely, and now she's offering to allow him to permanently leave the cage. All things that he should have been able to do on his own merit without being held prisoner. But she's making him believe as though she's gifting him these things, and he ought to give her something back in return, right? She calls it diplomacy, call it whatever you want, but it's manipulation, right? And here, as I've said, I'm already lost on Hector. I'm glad to see that Isaac, as I had predicted, is somehow responsible for Dracula's return. As for what will happen to Hector, Camilla's plan is still pretty much in its infancy. They still don't have the bodies that they need for Hector to forge, even if they do manage to manipulate him to their side. Striga came up with a plan to actually use mercenaries, and my only issue with that plan is these mercenaries are working for humans, and while they are willing to work for money, I would think some of them are smart enough to know, okay, if we help defend the vampires, we're just going to become food later on when the vampires are in total control. I don't see why any mercenary would agree to that. Money is great, but the money will only last for a short period. You're going to become food. But her plan is still very much in its infancy, and Isaac I believe the mad magician said he's like 2 weeks away from Striga. I don't know if that's enough time for them to hire mercenaries or soldiers and for Hector to forge all of them, right? But she did say there are worse things in this world than betrayal and revenge, So I don't know. I don't think it's possible that Isaac might not even get his revenge. That is a possibility. If anything happens this season, I want to see Isaac facing Hector. I want to see that. I don't know. The huge upcoming battle is great, but I need to see that. Hector needs to get what's coming to him. In the back of my mind, I'm still holding on to some hope that he has seen through all of Lenore's machinations and manipulations so far, and he's he's going to be the one to actually, once he's built an army, to kill Carmilla and her sisters. In the back of my mind, I'm still holding on to some hope that he's not that idiotic to not notice that he's being manipulated, and somehow, I don't know, somehow he will redeem himself, and with Dracula's return, perhaps even find himself back at Dracula's side, and maybe even opposing Isaac, because as I said before, I think Isaac is going to be one of those. I don't know. He's the one bringing Dracula back, but he, at the same time, he's changing at the same pace, right? So he may bring Dracula back, but he may no longer share the same vision that Dracula did back in season 2. So it's a very complex storyline, and I can't wait to see where it leads. So be sure to post down below, guys. Let me know your thoughts are on this episode and your theories about Isaac and what the future holds for him and Dracula. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you guys for the next one.